She was cheated on then. Her boss held her close and whispered, "You deserve a love that stays." Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. Imagine a young woman, broken-hearted from a betrayal, standing at a crossroads in both her personal and professional life. But little did she know, her boss, the man who had always kept his distance, would become the one to change everything. Emma sat in the corner of the cafe, clutching her coffee cup, her hands shaking. The weight of the betrayal she'd just discovered felt like 1,000 pounds on her chest. He was always so composed, so controlled in the office, and yet there was something in his expression now that seemed almost vulnerable. For a moment, she hesitated, unsure if she should approach him, but then she shook her head. What was the point? She wasn't in the mood to make small talk with anyone, let alone her boss. But as she turned to leave, she stumbled, and her coffee cup slipped from her hands, spilling its contents across the table. The noise was enough to get Liam's attention. He looked up, his eyes meeting hers, and a flicker of recognition passed between them. "Emma, is everything okay?" he asked, his voice soft but concerned. She froze for a moment, unsure of how to respond. The last thing she wanted was to break down in front of her boss. "Yeah, just clumsy," she mumbled, wiping at the mess with a napkin. She forced a smile, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Liam stood up and walked over to her, his gaze steady and warm. "Here, let me help," he said, his tone gentle. He reached for the cloth and began dabbing at the spill. As he did, Emma couldn't help but notice the way he moved with ease, as if his every action had purpose and meaning. He wasn't just her boss. He was someone who, despite his position of power, seemed to care. But she quickly reminded herself not to read too much into it. He was just being polite, right? As he finished cleaning up, there was a brief, awkward pause. Emma didn't know what to say, and neither did Liam. He cleared his throat. "You don't have to explain yourself," he said, almost as if sensing her discomfort. "I get it. You're going through a lot right now, aren't you?" Emma blinked in surprise. She hadn't expected him to acknowledge her situation, but there it was, his kindness, his understanding. It felt like a weight lifted, just a little. "It's just, everything's falling apart," she said quietly, the words slipping out before she could stop them. "I thought I had it all figured out, you know. But now, I don't even know who I am anymore." Liam's expression softened. "You deserve a love that stays, Emma," he said, his voice almost a whisper. The words hit her harder than she expected. They weren't just comforting, they were a promise, a quiet vow of support. She looked up at him, her eyes searching his face for any hint of insincerity, but there was none. He was genuine. And for the first time in a long while, Emma allowed herself to believe it. Maybe, just maybe, she could find a way to heal. Maybe she wasn't as alone as she felt. Maybe this unexpected kindness from her boss was the first step towards something better. But before she could say anything, Liam smiled softly and nodded toward the door. "Come on, let's get some fresh air. You deserve to breathe for a moment." And with that, they stepped outside, into the cool evening air, where Emma felt just a little bit lighter, just a little bit more hopeful. Little did she know, this was only the beginning of a new chapter, one that would change everything. The cool evening air felt refreshing against Emma's face as she stepped outside the cafe with Liam. For the first time in days, she could breathe freely. The weight of her heartache had not vanished, but it felt lighter, as if it had been shared with someone who understood her pain. She glanced over at Liam, who walked beside her with an ease that made her feel both comforted and uneasy at the same time. The man who had always been her boss, distant and professional, was now someone who had shown her unexpected kindness. It was a strange feeling, but it also felt like the beginning of something new, something promising. "Thank you for earlier," Emma said quietly, her voice almost lost in the breeze. "I didn't expect." Her words trailed off. Liam looked at her, his expression soft but sincere. "You don't need to thank me. You're going through a lot right now, and it's the least I could do," he replied, his voice steady and calm. They walked in silence for a moment, each of them lost in their own thoughts. Emma couldn't help but feel a growing sense of connection to him, though she knew it was too soon to make any assumptions. After all, he was her boss. The boundaries between them had always been clear, and she had never imagined that a simple act of kindness would blur those lines. But here they were, walking side by side in the quiet of the evening, as if the world had momentarily shifted. "You know," Liam began, breaking the silence, "I've been thinking. You've been through a lot recently, and I think it's time you took a break. A real one." Emma glanced at him, confused. "A break?" she repeated, unsure of what he meant. Liam nodded, his gaze focused ahead. "You've been pushing yourself too hard, Emma. You deserve time to focus on yourself, to heal, and to get away from all the stress." Emma felt a knot form in her stomach. She wanted to protest, to tell him she couldn't afford to take time off, but something in his tone made her hesitate. Maybe he was right. Maybe she did need a break. After all, her heart wasn't the only thing that needed healing. Her spirit had been drained as well. "I don't know if I can just leave everything behind," she said, her voice tinged with doubt. "There's so much to do, so many things to take care of." Liam turned to her, his expression softening. "You've been giving so much of yourself to everything and everyone around you. Maybe it's time to give some of that energy to yourself." Emma swallowed hard. She had always been the kind of person to put others first, to sacrifice her own well-being for the sake of work and relationships. But now, with everything falling apart, she realized that she had nothing left to give. "You're right," she whispered. "I guess I do need a break." Liam smiled gently. "Good. I'll make sure everything at work is handled while you take some time off. You don't have to worry about anything. Just focus on yourself for once." Emma couldn't believe what she was hearing. It felt like a dream. Her boss, the man who had always been so distant, was offering her a chance to step away from everything and take care of herself. She looked at him, her heart filled with a mix of gratitude and confusion. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely audible. Liam gave her a small nod. "It's the least I can do. You deserve to find happiness again, Emma. You deserve to be with someone who truly sees you, not just for your work, but for who you are." The words struck her deeply. No one had ever spoken to her like that before, not her ex, not even her friends. She had always felt like she was just a part of the machine, someone who existed to keep everything running smoothly. But now, standing here with Liam, she felt seen, valued. It was a feeling she had longed for, even if she hadn't known it. "I don't even know where to start," Emma admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "I've been so focused on everything else that I forgot how to take care of myself." Liam stopped walking and turned to face her, his expression serious but kind. "It's never too late to start, Emma. You don't have to have all the answers right now. Just take it one step at a time." Emma nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope flicker inside her. It wasn't going to be easy. The road ahead would be full of challenges. But for the first time in a long time, she felt like she had a chance to rebuild herself, to rediscover who she was outside of the pain and the loss. Liam's voice broke through her thoughts again. "You don't have to face this alone, Emma. I'm here for you, no matter what." She looked up at him, her heart swelling with a mixture of gratitude and something more, something she couldn't quite name. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know what to say." Liam smiled, his gaze warm. "You don't need to say anything. Just know that you're not alone in this. You're stronger than you think, and I'll be here to support you every step of the way." Emma felt the tears well up in her eyes, but this time they were different. They weren't tears of pain. They were tears of relief, of hope. She wasn't sure where this journey would lead, but she knew one thing for sure: she wasn't going to give up on herself. Not anymore. It had been 2 weeks since Emma took her much-needed break, and she could feel the weight of the world lifting off her shoulders, little by little. The first few days were hard. She had spent so much of her life focused on work, on making things right, that it was difficult to just let go. But slowly, she began to rediscover the parts of herself that had been buried for so long. She started painting again, something she hadn't done in years. The feeling of the brush in her hand, the colors coming to life on the canvas, was like a breath of fresh air. It wasn't just about the art, it was about reclaiming a piece of herself that had been lost in the chaos of her life. Every stroke of the brush felt like a small victory, a step toward healing. She spent her days working on her art, taking long walks in the park, and even going out to meet friends. It was a luxury she had never given herself before. She learned to breathe again, to take in the little moments, and she found herself smiling more often than she had in months. Still, there was always that thought in the back of her mind: Liam. Her boss, the man who had changed everything for her. She had always respected him professionally, but now, after everything that had happened, her feelings were beginning to shift. She found herself thinking about him more and more, wondering about his life outside of work. She couldn't deny the connection they had, the way he had been there for her when she needed someone the most. And it wasn't just his kindness that had drawn her in. There was something deeper, something about him that made her feel understood in a way no one else had. She had to admit it to herself, she was falling for him. It was a complicated feeling, especially considering their professional relationship. She had no idea where it would lead, but she couldn't ignore it anymore. The next time she saw him was unexpected. She was at the gallery downtown, looking at some new artwork that had caught her attention, when she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Emma, I didn't expect to see you here," Liam said, his voice warm and genuine. She turned around, startled but relieved to see him. He was dressed casually, in a jacket and jeans, but he still carried that same confident aura that always seemed to fill a room. "I didn't expect to be here either," Emma said with a soft laugh. "I'm just taking some time to appreciate the art." Liam nodded, his eyes softening as he looked at the paintings on the wall. "Art has a way of making you see things differently, doesn't it?" he said, his tone thoughtful. Emma nodded in agreement, her gaze moving from the paintings to Liam. "It does. It's a way to express things that words can't." For a moment, they both stood there in silence, just taking in the atmosphere of the gallery. It was a peaceful moment, one that Emma had come to cherish in recent days. Liam broke the silence with a question. "How have you been?" His voice was gentle, but there was an underlying concern that made her heart flutter. "I'm better," Emma replied, her smile sincere. "I've been focusing on myself, and it's been good for me." Liam's gaze softened even more, and for the first time, Emma noticed how much he cared. He wasn't just her boss. He was someone who truly saw her, who understood what she had been through. "I'm glad to hear that," he said quietly. There was a long pause, as they both stood in front of a painting of a woman, sitting by the window, gazing out into a storm. Emma felt a strange sense of connection to the image, as if it mirrored the way she had felt before. She had been waiting for something, for someone to change her world, to bring the calm after the storm, and now, here she was, standing beside the man who had already begun to change everything. "You know, Emma," Liam said, his voice breaking the silence once again, "I've been thinking a lot about our conversation, about how you deserve a love that stays." Emma's heart skipped a beat as she turned to face him, her eyes meeting his. There was something in his gaze, something tender, something that made her feel both vulnerable and safe. "And I meant it," he continued, his voice low and sincere. "You deserve someone who truly sees you, who doesn't just admire you for your work, but for who you are." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She had never heard anyone speak to her like this before, especially not someone as important as Liam. She wanted to say something, but the words got stuck in her throat. "Liam, she began, but she didn't know how to finish the sentence. Before she could say anything else, Liam reached out and gently took her hand. "You don't need to say anything," he said softly. "I just want you to know that I'm here for you. I always have been." In that moment, Emma felt something shift inside her. It had been a week since that quiet moment in the gallery with Liam, and Emma couldn't stop thinking about it. Every time she closed her eyes, she could still feel the warmth of his hand in hers, the sincerity in his eyes as he told her she deserved a love that stays. The words echoed in her mind, like a melody she couldn't get out of her head. It was more than just a fleeting kindness. Liam had meant it. But what did that mean for her? Could she allow herself to believe in something so perfect, especially with all the hurt she had been through? She had spent so long guarding her heart, protecting it from the kind of pain that came from love. But now, with Liam, everything felt different. The next day, Liam asked her to meet for lunch. Emma hesitated for a moment, still unsure of how to navigate this new territory between them. They had always kept their relationship strictly professional, and now that line seemed blurred. But in the end, she agreed. She had learned to embrace the idea of taking things one step at a time, and maybe, just maybe, this would be one of those steps. As she walked into the restaurant, her nerves began to settle when she spotted Liam waiting at a table by the window. He looked relaxed, his usual composed demeanor softened by the setting. Now, let's dive into today's story. Imagine a young woman, broken-hearted from a betrayal, standing at a crossroads in both her personal and professional life. But little did she know, her boss, the man who had always kept his distance, would become the one to change everything. Emma sat in the corner of the cafe, clutching her coffee cup, her hands shaking. The weight of the betrayal she'd just discovered felt like 1,000 pounds on her chest. Liam asked about her art, about how she had been spending her time off, and Emma found herself opening up more than she ever had before. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she could be herself without any pretenses. "I've been painting again," Emma said, smiling as she spoke. "It feels good to create something again." Liam leaned forward, genuinely interested. "I'd love to see your work sometime," he said. "Maybe I can help you showcase it in a gallery. You deserve to be recognized for your talent." Emma's heart swelled at the idea. She had always dreamed of having her art shown to the world, but she had never had the confidence to take that first step. "That would be amazing," she said, her voice full of hope. "I don't know if I'm ready yet, but maybe one day." Liam's smile deepened. "Whenever you're ready, I'll be there to help you. You don't have to do it alone." Emma felt her chest tighten at his words. His support, his unwavering belief in her, was something she had never experienced before. He wasn't just offering a chance for her art to be seen, he was offering her a chance to believe in herself again. As they continued talking, Emma realized just how much she had come to rely on Liam's presence in her life. He had become her rock, the one person who was always there when she needed him. And as much as she tried to deny it, she couldn't help but feel drawn to him in ways she hadn't expected. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized that she wasn't ready to dive into a relationship, not yet. She still had a lot of healing to do, and while she cared deeply for Liam, she wasn't sure if she was ready to let him in completely. After lunch, they walked out of the restaurant together, and Liam turned to her with a thoughtful look. "Emma," he said softly, "I know this might be moving a little fast, but I want you to know that I'm here for you, in whatever way you need. Whether it's as a friend or something more, I just want you to be happy." His words touched her more than she could express. She knew he meant it, but she also knew she wasn't ready to make any decisions just yet. She needed time, space to figure things out. "Thank you, Liam," she said, her voice steady despite the emotions swirling inside her. "I don't know where this is going, but I'm grateful for everything you've done for me, and I promise, I'm not running away from it. I just need to take things slowly." Liam's eyes softened, and he nodded. "Take all the time you need, Emma. I'll be here, no matter what." And with that, he gave her a gentle smile and a reassuring pat on the back before turning to walk in the other direction. As Emma watched him walk away, she felt a sense of peace settle over her. She wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was on the right path. She was healing, and maybe, just maybe, she was finally ready to let love in again. It had been a few weeks since that lunch with Liam, and Emma had slowly started to feel like she was getting her life back on track. She had been painting more, taking walks in the park, and even starting to plan a few small exhibitions of her work. There was a sense of calm that had settled over her, a peace she hadn't felt in a long time. But despite all the progress she had made, there was still that lingering feeling when it came to Liam. She couldn't help but think about him every day, and the moments they shared continued to replay in her mind. It was undeniable she had developed feelings for him. It wasn't just the kindness he had shown her in her lowest moments. It was how he made her feel seen, heard, and understood. His words, "You deserve a love that stays," had stayed with her, and she found herself wondering if that was something she could truly have with him. But there was still a part of her that wasn't sure if she was ready for it. She had been hurt before, and the thought of opening her heart again scared her. But Liam had been patient, giving her the time and space she needed, never rushing her. And now, as the days went by, she realized she was beginning to trust him in ways she hadn't trusted anyone in years. One evening, after spending the day at an art exhibit, Emma found herself walking through the city streets, her mind full of thoughts. She had decided to take a break from painting to clear her head, but it was hard not to think about Liam and what he meant to her. As she walked past a small coffee shop, she saw him sitting by the window, reading a book. Her heart skipped a beat. She hadn't seen him in a few days, but the thought of him still made her feel like she was on the edge of something wonderful. She hesitated for a moment, but then, without thinking, she walked into the shop. "Liam," she said softly, unsure if he would even recognize her without the professional setting. He looked up, and when his eyes met hers, a warm smile spread across his face. "Emma, what a pleasant surprise," he said, his voice smooth and welcoming. And now, as the days went by, she realized she was beginning to trust him in ways she hadn't trusted anyone in years. One evening, after spending the day at an art exhibit, Emma found herself walking through the city streets, her mind full of thoughts. She had decided to take a break from painting to clear her head, but it was hard not to think about Liam and what he meant to her. As she walked past a small coffee shop, she saw him sitting by the window, reading a book. "And I want you to know that I'm here for you no matter what. I care about you more than I probably should, and I know I've been patient, but I think it's time I'm honest with you about how I feel." Emma's heart raced. She hadn't expected him to say that, and yet, hearing it made her feel both overwhelmed and comforted. She had known there was something between them, but hearing him say it out loud made everything more real. She took a deep breath, her hands shaking slightly as she placed them on the table. "I care about you too, Liam," she said, her voice steady but full of emotion. "More than I ever thought I could. But I've been so afraid to let myself believe in this. After everything that's happened, I didn't think I could ever trust anyone again. But with you, I feel like maybe I can. I just need to take it slow." Liam reached across the table and gently took her hand in his. "I understand, Emma, and I'm not asking you to rush into anything. I just wanted you to know how I feel. You've been through so much, and I want to be the one to support you, to help you heal, and to build something real with you." The sincerity in his eyes left her breathless. She knew, deep down, that he was offering her something she had always longed for, but had never thought she deserved. "I'm scared, Liam," she whispered, "but I'm willing to take the chance." As they sat together, talking and laughing, the world outside seemed to fade away. It was just the two of them, finally letting go of the past and embracing the future they could build together. As the days passed, Emma and Liam's bond only grew stronger. They spent more time together, not just at work, but outside of it, exploring the city, enjoying quiet dinners, and getting to know each other in ways they hadn't before. There was something comforting about being with him. Liam was patient, kind, and always present, giving her the space to heal at her own pace, while also encouraging her to push past her fears. It felt like they were building something real, something that could withstand the test of time. For the first time in a long time, Emma felt truly seen and understood, and for the first time, she allowed herself to dream of a future where love and happiness weren't just things that happened to other people. They were for her too. One evening, Liam invited her to a charity gala. It was an annual event for a cause they both supported, but it was also a chance for them to dress up and enjoy each other's company outside of the office. Emma was nervous. She had never been one for fancy events, but Liam insisted, telling her that he wanted her there by his side. She chose a simple, elegant dress that made her feel confident, though a little out of her comfort zone. When Liam saw her at the event, his eyes lit up. "You look incredible," he said, his voice full of admiration. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't used to receiving such compliments, especially not from Liam. But there was something in his gaze, something genuine, that made her feel like she truly mattered. "Thank you," she said, a soft smile tugging at her lips. "You look amazing too." They spent the evening together, talking with guests, enjoying the music, and laughing in each other's company. Emma found herself feeling more and more comfortable as the night went on. She was finally beginning to feel like she belonged not just in this beautiful venue, but with Liam by her side. The evening culminated with a speech from Liam, who was being honored for his work with the charity. As he stood at the podium, speaking about the importance of community and giving back, Emma couldn't help but admire him. He wasn't just a successful businessman or a wealthy CEO. He was someone who cared deeply about making a difference in the world, someone who used his position to help others. She was so proud of him, and as he finished his speech and walked off the stage, he walked directly to her. "You did amazing up there," she said, her voice filled with pride. Liam smiled, his eyes warm. "Thank you. But I couldn't have done it without your support." His words sent a rush of warmth through her chest. For the first time, she truly felt like they were partners, not just in work, but in life. They had become each other's support system, and Emma knew she had found something special. As the night drew to a close, Liam took her hand and led her outside. The cool night air felt refreshing, and as they stood under the stars, Liam turned to her with a thoughtful expression. "Emma," he said softly, "there's something I've been meaning to ask you. I know we've been taking things slow, and I respect that more than you know, but I just need to know, how do you feel about us? about what we've built together. Emma's heart raced as she looked into his eyes. She had been thinking about this moment for a while now, wondering if she was ready to take that next step. But in her heart, she knew the answer. "I feel like I've found something real, Liam," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I feel like I can trust you, like I can believe in us. I'm ready. I'm ready for whatever comes next." Liam's smile was the brightest it had ever been, and he took a step closer, gently cupping her face in his hands. "I'm so glad to hear that," he whispered, his voice full of affection. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." With that, Liam leaned in, and for the first time, Emma felt the warmth of his lips against hers. The kiss was soft, gentle, and full of promise. And for the first time in a long time, Emma felt like she was truly home. As the weeks passed, Emma and Liam's relationship grew stronger with every day. They were no longer just boss and employee, they had become something more, something deeper. They spent their weekends together, enjoying quiet dinners, taking trips to art exhibits, and simply being with each other in a way that felt effortless and real. Emma found herself falling for Liam more each day, but this time, she wasn't afraid of it. She had learned to trust him, to let go of the fears that had once held her back from embracing love, fully. Every moment with him felt like a new beginning, like the start of a future she had never imagined possible. At work, their dynamic had shifted as well. Liam had become not just her boss but a mentor, someone who encouraged her to take risks and follow her passion for art. He had helped her secure a small exhibition in a local gallery, and Emma's work was finally being appreciated the way it deserved. She had always dreamed of this moment, but it felt even more special knowing that Liam was there to support her every step of the way. But even with everything going so well, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. She had never really addressed her past, the betrayal that had shattered her heart months ago, and she realized that if she wanted to move forward with Liam, she had to let go of that pain. She had to confront the ghosts of her past before she could fully embrace the future they were building together. One evening, as they sat in Liam's apartment, sipping wine and talking about their day, Emma took a deep breath and looked at him. "Liam," she began, her voice soft but steady, "there's something I need to tell you, something I haven't talked about before." Liam looked up from his glass, his expression immediately attentive. "What is it, Emma?" "You know you can tell me anything." She hesitated for a moment, the weight of her words heavy on her chest, but she knew this was something she couldn't keep buried any longer. "I've been holding on to the pain from the past. The betrayal I went through, it's something I've never really dealt with. I've tried to move on, but there are times when it still hurts. And I think that's why I've been so guarded, why I've been afraid to truly let myself trust again." Liam's expression softened, and he reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "You don't have to carry that pain on your own, Emma," he said gently. "I'm here for you, and I will be, no matter what. You don't have to face this alone." Emma's eyes welled up with tears, and she squeezed his hand. For the first time in months, she felt like she wasn't carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. With Liam by her side, she could let go of the past and begin to heal. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I don't know what I would do without you." Liam gave her a reassuring smile. "You don't have to worry about that," he said. "We're in this together, always." The words hit Emma like a wave, and for the first time, she allowed herself to fully believe in the love they were building. She had never known someone could make her feel so safe, so cared for, so seen. Liam wasn't just the man she had fallen for. He was the person who had helped her heal, who had shown her that love wasn't something to be afraid of. As the days went on, Emma felt herself opening up more and more, not just to Liam, but to life itself. She was no longer hiding behind walls, no longer holding herself back from the future she deserved. She was ready to take the next step with Liam, to see where this love could take them. One evening, as they walked through the park after dinner, Liam stopped and turned to her. "Emma," he said softly, "there's something I've been thinking about, something I want to ask you." Emma's heart skipped a beat, unsure of what was coming next. "What is it?" she asked, her voice filled with curiosity. Liam took a deep breath, his eyes searching hers. "I know we've been taking things slow, and I respect that. But I want you to know that I love you, Emma. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" Emma stood there in shock, her heart racing as the words sank in. She had never expected this moment to come so soon, but as she looked into Liam's eyes, she knew this was the next step in their journey together. Without a second thought, she smiled through her tears. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I will marry you." Liam's face lit up with joy, and he pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly as if he never wanted to let go. In that moment, everything else in the world faded away. There was no past, no pain, only the two of them, ready to build a future filled with love, trust, and endless possibilities. The weeks that followed, Emma's acceptance of Liam's proposal, were a whirlwind of excitement and anticipation. They dove into wedding plans with a mix of joy and determination, every decision they made bringing them closer together. Liam was as supportive as ever, making sure that Emma had everything she needed while still giving her the space to take the lead in planning. Emma found herself overwhelmed at times by the details, dress fittings, venue selections, guest lists, but Liam's calm presence and reassurance made everything feel possible. The thought of spending her life with him, of building a future together, made all the stress worth it. As the day of their wedding approached, Emma found herself reflecting on the incredible journey they had both been on. She had never imagined that her life could change so drastically in such a short amount of time. From the heartbreak and betrayal she had experienced to finding someone who truly cared for her in ways she never thought possible. Emma realized how much she had grown. She wasn't the same woman who had walked into that cafe weeks ago. She was stronger, more confident, and most importantly, she was loved. The night before their wedding, Emma sat in front of the mirror in the small, cozy apartment she had once called her own. It was strange to think about how much had changed in such a short time. She remembered the days when she had felt completely lost, unsure of where her life was headed. But now, with Liam by her side, everything felt right. She thought about her past, about the pain and heartache she had carried with her for so long, and she felt an overwhelming sense of peace. She had let go of the past. She had forgiven herself, and she had forgiven others. She was ready to move forward. The door to the apartment opened, and Emma turned to see her best friend Jenny standing there, a smile on her face and a glass of wine in hand. "Well, look at you," Jenny said, walking over to Emma and sitting beside her. "You're glowing." Emma chuckled, taking the wine from her friend. "I think it's the stress," she joked, but deep down, she knew it was the happiness she had found in her heart. "I can't believe tomorrow is the big day," Jenny continued. "Are you nervous?" Emma took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing heart. "I don't think I'm nervous," she said. "I'm just ready. Ready for this new chapter, ready to start a life with Liam." Jenny smiled softly, her eyes filled with warmth. "You deserve all of this, Emma. You've been through so much, and now, you get your happy ending." Emma felt her throat tighten at Jenny's words. She was right. She had been through so much, and she had come out the other side stronger and more whole than ever before. She had found the love she had always dreamed of, and tomorrow, she would marry the man who had helped her heal, who had shown her what true love could be. The next morning, Emma stood in front of the full-length mirror, staring at herself in the wedding dress she had chosen. The dress was simple but elegant, with delicate lace and a flowing skirt that made her feel like a princess. She couldn't help but smile as she admired the woman staring back at her. She looked different not just in the dress, but in her eyes, in the way she carried herself. She had found the strength to love again, and in doing so, she had found herself. "The betrayal I went through, it's something I've never really dealt with. I've tried to move on, but there are times when it still hurts. And I think that's why I've been so guarded, why I've been afraid to truly let myself trust again." Liam's expression softened, and he reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "You don't have to carry that pain on your own, Emma," he said gently. "I'm here for you, and I will be, no matter what. You don't have to face this alone." When they exchanged vows, Emma felt the weight of every word. She promised to love him, to support him, and to cherish every moment they shared. And as Liam spoke his vows to her, she knew in her heart that he meant every word. When the officiant declared them husband and wife, Emma's heart soared. She was married to the man she loved, the man who had been there for her when she needed him most. Together, they had built something beautiful, something that could withstand anything life threw their way. As they walked back down the aisle together, hand in hand, Emma couldn't help but smile. She had finally found her place, her happiness, and it was all because of Liam. This was just the beginning of their story. A story that would continue to unfold, filled with love, laughter, and a future that was brighter than Emma had ever imagined. The days following their wedding were a blur of joy and celebration. Emma and Liam spent their honeymoon in a small, secluded beach town, where the ocean breeze and the peaceful waves provided the perfect backdrop for their new life together. It felt like a dream, a beautiful, surreal dream, where they could finally leave behind the pain of the past and start anew. For Emma, the honeymoon was more than just a vacation. It was a reflection of everything she had worked so hard to achieve: self-acceptance, trust, and the ability to truly love without fear. She realized that every moment of struggle, every tear shed, had led her to this place. And now, as she stood beside Liam, watching the sun set over the horizon, she knew that she was exactly where she was meant to be. Liam, always the quiet and thoughtful one, watched her with a gentle smile. He had been her rock through it all, her support, her confidant, and now, her husband. He had stood by her when she needed him most. And he had shown her what true love really was. It was in the small moments: the way he held her hand when she was nervous, the way he always knew the right thing to say when she felt lost, and the way he made her feel safe, no matter what the world threw at them. As the days on their honeymoon passed, Emma began to reflect on how far they had both come. She had been so afraid of love, so afraid of opening herself up to someone again after the betrayal that had shattered her heart. But with Liam, she had found something different. She had found a love that was steady, that was built on trust and mutual respect. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and that was enough. One evening, after a long day spent walking along the beach and enjoying the warm, salty air, they sat on the porch of their cozy beach house, watching the stars slowly fill the sky. "Emma," Liam said, breaking the comfortable silence, "I've been thinking about something. About us, about the future." Emma turned to face him, her heart suddenly racing. "What is it?" she asked, her voice soft but full of curiosity. "I know we've only just started our life together, but I can't help but think about how lucky I am to have you in my life. You've changed me in ways I never thought possible. I want to spend every day with you, and I want to build a future with you." His words were sincere, his gaze unwavering. Emma's heart swelled with emotion. She had always dreamed of finding someone who would truly see her, who would love her for who she was, not just for the person they wanted her to be. And now, she had found that person in Liam. "I feel the same way," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I've never known love like this. It's been scary at times, but it's also been the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced." Liam smiled, his eyes softening as he reached for her hand. "We've been through so much, Emma, and I know that life won't always be easy, but I also know that with you by my side, I can face anything." Emma squeezed his hand, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. She knew they had a long road ahead of them, but she also knew they were ready for it. Together, they were unstoppable. As the night went on, they continued to talk about their hopes and dreams, about the family they wanted to build and the future they envisioned. It wasn't about grand gestures or unrealistic expectations. It was about the simple moments, the quiet moments, where they could just be together, enjoying the life they had created. The next morning, they woke up early to watch the sunrise. As they stood hand in hand, gazing out at the beauty of the ocean, Emma felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had found her home, not in a place, but in a person. She had found love, and it was everything she had ever hoped for. With Liam by her side, she knew there was nothing they couldn't overcome. Together, they had built something beautiful, something that would only grow stronger with time. And as they walked back to their little beach house, their hearts full of hope and love, Emma realized that this was only the beginning of their story. The rest of their lives stretched out before them, filled with endless possibilities, and she couldn't wait to face them all with Liam by her side.